Well, good morning to everyone, and thank you very much for joining. And a special thank you to Senator Warnock, Representative Bustos, Representative Bishop, Dr. Stevens, and Director Davy for being with us today. This is an important day for the Department of Agriculture, and it's certainly an important day for every individual in America today that is owning a fractionated interest of land. As we know from history, African Americans lost a significant amount of land over the course of many, many years as a result of not being able to transfer land by virtue of a deed or having a will when a landowner passed away. And as a result, over time, interest in land basically got carved up into small fractions, making it extremely difficult for the owners of those fractions to be able to access many of the programs at USDA, and for that matter, many of the programs across the federal government, across state government, and even commercial lending opportunities. The title of a property is not only proof of ownership, but it is really the gateway to a myriad of programs and opportunities. And it wasn't just Black farmers who suffered from this. Hispanic farmers in the late 1900s and early 20th century clearly had issues. May have lost as much as almost 1.5 million acres of land to fractionated interests. And this has also impacted and affected white farmers in Appalachia. This is a reflection, and it is a consequence of poverty. It crosses geographic boundaries, it crosses racial boundaries, and it is the reason that Congress decided in 2018 in the Farm Bill to direct the Department of Agriculture to create a program that would assist folks in beginning the process of consolidating land ownership and opening up that gateway to many programs and opportunities. So today we are launching our relending effort and program consistent with the congressional direction. Essentially what this is, Congress has appropriated resources to us at USDA. We believe that those resources will allow for roughly $67 million of opportunity for the Department of Agriculture to lend that money at very low interest rate to community development financial institutions, CDFIs, who have had experience in working with socially disadvantaged producers, beginning farmers, and others, who show an ability to assist individuals who are owners of fractionated interests be able to consolidate land. These resources will then be lent out to those individuals who want to consolidate title for the purpose of essentially buying out fractionated interests and for the purposes of the costs associated with doing so, whether it's an appraisal fee or title insurance or legal fees, whatever it might be. And this is an opportunity, I think, for us to begin addressing this issue of fractionated land ownership. Certainly a good day, an important day for USDA, and we're excited about the opportunities that this program will create. This $67 million will be lent out, and obviously as it's repaid, it gives us the opportunity to continually create sort of a revolving loan fund that hopefully over time will provide significant opportunities to consolidate land ownership. And as I say, open up new opportunities for those who currently are stuck based on the fact that they have fractionated interest. This is also an issue, I might add, that also impacts Native Americans in a very significant way. Many opportunities were lost in terms of the transfer of property. And so over time, as folks died, the land got divided into more and more and more fractions. So this is really an issue that impacts and affects just virtually everybody across the board. So we're excited about this opportunity and appreciate the fact that we've had leadership from Congress and someone who has been very much at the forefront of that leadership effort is Senator Warnock in terms of advocating for greater equity and greater opportunity from USDA for folks across the board. So I'm going to turn it over to Senator Warnock for his comments, and then he will introduce Representative Bustos. Senator.
Well, thank you so very much, Secretary Vilsack. It is good to be here with you and my other colleagues today, including Congresswoman Bustos and Chairman Bishop, as well as some of our partners out in the field. Today is a day of celebration for farmers all across our country, and certainly for farmers in Georgia. And I want to commend the Secretary for taking action to stand up the Heirs property relending program. For too many farmers in Georgia, a lack of proper legal documentation threatens their ability to keep the farm in the family and then to securely pass that land on to their children. Let me be clear, heirs property is a real and direct threat to land ownership and the ability of these farmers to build intergenerational wealth for their families. So as we talk about the increasing wealth gap, here is a site where this occurs and is magnified and amplified generation after generation. In fact, estimates suggest that over 1/3 of Southern Black-owned land is considered to be heirs property. Think about the implications of that for generational wealth when you look at the racial wealth gap, that perhaps as much as 1/3 of Southern Black-owned land considered to be heirs property. This is no accident. Keeping Black farmers in Georgia from accessing legal services and obtaining proper documentation is a result of years, decades of institutionalized discrimination across the agriculture sector. And so it is well past time for the federal government to tackle this problem head on. And standing up this heirs property relending program is a critical step in the right direction. Please know that I will continue to work alongside my colleagues, leading the charge in the United States Senate to secure funding for these efforts. I was happy to lead a bipartisan letter with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina to my colleagues on the Senate Appropriations Committee requesting continued investments for this program. And I know that Chairman Sanford Bishop will help lead these efforts in the House. And I'm committed to working with him and others on this critical issue. Secretary Vilsack, thank you again for your work here. I look forward to working with you and everyone else on this call to support all of our farmers in Georgia across racial and geographical lines. We know that when we lift up rural America, we help the entire country. Now it is my honor to turn things over to Congresswoman Bustos.
All righty, thank you very much, Senator, and good morning to everyone. I want to thank you for including me as part of this today. Secretary Vilsack, thank you to you and your entire USDA team for your work on this. This is an important day. So I'm sitting here in my office, and as you're taking a look at this, you might want to say, why in the heck is this woman here, a white woman? I'm maybe stating the obvious, from the Midwest, who represents a part of the country with so few Black farmers. I've spent many years serving the ag community. I come from a long line of family farmers. I've been a member of the Agriculture Committee since I was first elected. I'm now in my 5th term, and I've been on the Ag Committee every single one of my terms. This session of Congress, I'm fortunate enough to now be the chair of the General Farm Commodities and Risk Management Subcommittee. And also I'm co-chair of the New Dem Rural Reinvestment Task Force. And so just that as a background, but I bring that up because I believe that when you do something wrong, it's only right that you fix it. It's that simple. And, maybe some people think that's an old-fashioned way of looking at things, but I'll tell you what, Secretary Vilsack's from the heartland, I'm from the heartland, and we know that if you do something wrong, you fix it. And what many in our rural communities believe is that same thing, and that we'd all be a little better off if we saw more of that. If you do something wrong, you fix it. If we saw that here in Washington as well. And that's what this is about. So in the past, the USDA and our country did wrong by Black farmers, did wrong, dead wrong. And today, as someone whose family has a strong history in agriculture, and as someone who has proudly served the ag community for many years now, I'm here to say that it's past time that we take steps to fix it, just like we're doing here today under Secretary Vilsack's leadership. The district that I represent in the northwestern portion of the state of Illinois, we have 9,600 family farms. 9,600 family farms, and we have more than 3.5 million farming acres that make up the 7,000 square miles in the congressional district that I represent. And you know, the ag census that is issued, the most recent ag census says that in this congressional district that I represent, we have one Black farmer. You didn't misunderstand me. We have one Black farmer. So think about that, 9,600 family farms, one Black farmer. So I hear that and I'm thinking, I'm a former investigative reporter. So I immediately say, why? Why in the heck would we have one Black farmer? Then I find out with a little research that if you go back 15 years, we had 13. That's still a miserably low number. But even think about that. In 15 years, we go from 13 Black farmers down to one. So that's a 92% decrease in about a decade and a half. Still horribly low numbers, but a 92% decrease in that short amount of time. So again, why? Why would we have one Black farmer? So when you look at the history, it adds up. When you hear the stories, and I know Secretary Vilsack has heard them. I know Senator Warnock has heard them. I know Congressman Bishop has heard them. You listen to the stories and here's what you find out. And this is from across the nation. You hear how they were treated. Many of us have heard these stories over the years. We hear about loan applications being delayed or worse, denied altogether. We hear about Black farmers being harassed or assaulted just for asking for what they had the right to. We've heard of them being pushed off their family property and even sent to jail for refusing to give up that property that was their rightful property. Think about that. You know, and now as I look at the rural farming district that I serve, again, 3.5 million acres, nearly 10,000 family farms. And now looking at the history, you can understand because of this terrible treatment, why we're down to one Black farmer. So as easy as that to understand now, think about how shameful all of that is. Why we could watch that in that short amount of time, just in this one congressional district, go from a handful of Black farmers down to one. You know, so it is nothing short of a tragedy. It's shameful. And it's why those of us on this call have spent a good part of our careers trying to do right by America's farmers. And that means doing right by America's farmers today, and also right by all of America's farmers today. I'm so proud to be here and help roll out the Heirs property relending program. And I started this out by saying that I believe that when you do something wrong, it's only right that you fix it. That's what today's about. This program is going to help address claims to property that historically Black farmers have been edged out of. It'll help provide more Black farmers across the nation with resources that should be available for everyone. And it will help make sure that we can engage more Black farmers in agriculture. That's good for everyone. It's good for agriculture. It's good for our rural communities. It's good for America. It won't fix everything. We know that, but this is long overdue. So again, thank you for having me as part of this today. Let me introduce our next speaker. I'm so fortunate to be able to serve on the Appropriations Committee, and Sanford Bishop chairs the Agriculture Appropriations Subcommittee. I'm also honored that he has been willing to sit on the subcommittee that I chair. And so right after I was named chair, I personally reached out to Sanford Bishop to discuss how we could work together on issues just like the one we're talking about today. So it is my honor to introduce my colleague and my friend, Congressman Sanford Bishop, who serves the 2nd District of Georgia.
Thank you very much, Representative Bustos. And let me just say good morning. And I am so glad to be joining Secretary Vilsack and my colleague, Senator Warnock, and the other folks on this call to announce the next step forward in addressing the heir property issue. Descendants of the original landowners face many challenges when a will is not available to establish a succession of ownership. Because the heirs need to agree on land use decisions, it can be difficult to manage their farmland. This makes heirs vulnerable to force petition sales or unscrupulous predatory investors who have, in fact, historically usurped farmland, stealing generational wealth from families. Even if heir property owners were able to overcome and to avoid these pitfalls, they were still prevented from participating in many USDA programs because they couldn't establish clear title. A farm number is fundamental to those operating farms, and it makes them eligible for a wide range of USDA programs, from lending to disaster relief, which are crucial to their success. And thanks to the 2018 Farm Bill, heir property owners now have more options in order to establish general control of their farming operations. But resolving succession questions really can remain an obstacle for heir property operators, many of whom may not have the financial means to engage proper legal services that are required in order to establish a clear title. I and my colleagues, Congresswoman Alma Adams of North Carolina, former Congresswoman Marcia Fudge of Ohio, successfully included language in the 2018 Farm Bill that provides resources and technical assistance through co-ops, credit unions, and nonprofit organizations, provides assistance to heir property owners to resolve ownership and succession on farmland that has multiple owners. As chair of the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Food and Drug Administration and related agencies, I made sure to include over $60 million for this program in the FY22 appropriations bill. Today's announcement by Secretary Vilsack, the Biden administration, standing up the heir property relending program is the translation of our legislative solution into action for heir property owners. Through the relending program, heir property owners will now have a greater means to resolve these issues, to preserve their farms and their families' lands, and to better engage all of the opportunities that are available to them through the programs of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So I thank Secretary Vilsack. I thank the Biden administration for their commitment to equity and their commitment to assuring that all Americans and all of the agriculture stakeholders, small, disadvantaged, minority, Black farmers, and all farmers will have an equal access to the programs, the very, very strong programs that are available through the United States Department of Agriculture. So thank you so much, and thank you for moving forward in standing up this much needed program. Secretary Vilsack.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the acknowledgement, but certainly the credit belongs to you and your colleagues in the House and the Senate for passing this and getting this directed to the USDA. So appreciate the work and the comments that you've made, Representative Bustos has made, and Senator Warnock has made. It's now my honor to turn the podium over to Dr. Stevens, who is the CEO of the Center for Heirs Property Preservation. She'll make a few remarks, and then she will be followed by Dania, Davy, who is the Director of Land Retention and Advocacy at the Federation of Southern Cooperatives. Dr. Stevens.
Thank you, Secretary Vilsack, for this opportunity to address your audience on this issue of heirs property and the heirs property relending program. This relending program is definitely a great step in USDA addressing the issue of heirs property for Black farmers through the Farm Bill. These funds will help Black farmers and their families unlock the wealth and the equity that has been traditionally unavailable to them. As you may be aware, the center is definitely well versed in this issue with our experience in providing legal education and direct legal services to heirs property owners in South Carolina since 2005. We've drafted wills for individuals since 2009. And most recently in 2013, we provided technical assistance to African-American tree farmers through our sustainable forestry program. During this time, we have been able to resolve 285 titles involving roughly about 1,400 acres, and they have a tax assessed value of $16.6 million. So we all know tax assessed value is always lower than what the market is. So now these families have been able to access this equity in their land, and they're receiving tools to make the land work for them rather than them working for the land. We've been able to provide these educational and legal services mostly through grants and agreements from federal and state governments, foundations and corporations and individuals. So we haven't tapped into the loan aspect, but we've definitely found other sources in which to help these families resolve their title with them paying minimal or paying the cost of like title searches and those things and filing fees to resolve their case. Just quickly, would love to share a story with the audience and how one of our sustainable forestry participants, her family owned almost 300, well, a little over 300 acres of forested land, and they had been approached to sell this land, and the deal was almost done until the timber buyer performed a title search. And that's when they found that this land, it was heirs property. So even though this woman and her family were working with us on the sustainable forestry side, she now needed to cross over to our legal side so that we could help her family resolve their title issues so that they could now cut this timber, access the wealth in the land, and also use some of that wealth to replant the trees and those things, and also help them access EQIP funding from USDA. So without having clear title, this family would not have been able to do that. They might have been taken advantage by the timber buyer, who would have given them a much lower price to cut their timber, but they would not have known what the next steps are and how to move forward. So just want to emphasize once again how important it is on having families have access or the ability to access funds to resolve their title. I hope that the federal government will proceed to examine how it may serve non-Black farmers and those who have heirs property, but they're not Black farmers. Well, I said non-Black farmers, but they can benefit from USDA housing repair programs and FEMA funds to rebuild after natural disasters. So I commend you, the Congress people who are on here, and Secretary Vilsack, for all that you've done to implement this Relending program. But I'd also say, please, let's not stop there, but let's continue to move forward and make sure other heirs property owners can have the opportunity to resolve their title also. Once again, thank you for the opportunity.
Dr. Stevens, good direction and good advice. I'll turn it over to Dania Davy, who is the Director of Land Retention and Advocacy at the Federation of Southern Cooperatives.
Good morning, and thank you, Secretary Vilsack, for the invitation to participate in this press conference. I'm truly humbled and honored to participate today with these esteemed and distinguished leaders. As an attorney and now the Director of Land Retention and Advocacy for the Federation of Southern Cooperatives Land Assistance Fund, I've spent the majority of my career providing estate and farm transition planning legal services to Black farmers and heir property owners. And so I'm genuinely excited about this heirs property relending program. Over 40 years ago, the Emergency Land Fund, which later merged with the Federation as the Land Assistance Fund, was commissioned by Congress to conduct a study on the impact of heir property on Black land tenure in the southeastern region of the United States. The recommendations in this report continues to guide research, policies, and resources for heir property owners to this day. Our Regional Heir Property and Mediation Center provides assistance to heir property owners through our referral network of attorneys and certified mediators. And our annual Heirs Property Conference recruits 100 heir property owners and gives them the technical assistance they need to address their heirs property issues, including clearing title and estate planning. The Federation has worked closely with many of the families that attended our Heir Property Conference last December, and one of those families owns heir property in Alabama. All of the heirs would like to preserve the ownership and create opportunities for productive use to honor their grandfather's legacy. However, unfortunately, one heir has sold their interest to a non-relative, and the non-relative does not have the same goals as the family. The risk is that the non-family member can at any point petition the court for a petition action. The Heirs Property Relending Program would allow the family members to secure sufficient funding to, among other things, buy back the interest that has been sold and afford the necessary legal services to protect the land from similar situations for future generations. These experiences have given us insight into the needs of heir property owners and the significant challenges heir property owners face, and one of which has consistently been access to capital. It may be apparent, but warrants repeating that unclear title frequently prevents these families from accessing bank loans and USDA programs and services that could maximize their wealth through their land. We at the Federation are confident that many more families who own heir property will be able to secure affordable, low-interest loans from the Heir Property Relending Program to keep their land in their family, consolidate those interests, prevent forced partition sales, and improve the land's productivity in order to generate and protect rural wealth. And so we're very, very excited about this program and happy to be here today.
Well, thank you very, very much. I'll turn it back to Peter for some instructions on the questions, but I think you heard today excitement about the opportunity that this program will provide for folks to basically solve some of the difficult problems that are associated with heirs property, and certainly looking forward to continued work as we implement this program and hopefully over time continue to expand it. Peter, instructions on questions.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. Thank you everyone for joining. We are now entering the Q&A portion of this event. We ask that you please raise your hand if you would like to speak. You can do that by looking at the bottom of your Zoom window, and you should see a reactions button. Click on reactions and you will see a link to raise your hand. So I encourage you to raise your hands. We will call on folks in order if possible. And first up, we have Yamena Bustillo, and I will spotlight you now.
Hey there, thank you so much for hosting this today. I definitely appreciate it. I'm hoping that you can explain a little bit how you are conducting outreach specifically to farmers that might need this the most in the South, or Black farmers that might not work with USDA previously, and who you are hoping the lenders themselves will be. I know that there's a stipulation of those with 10 years of priority of experience dealing with socially disadvantaged farmers will get a priority, but about who do you think those will be? What are you looking for kind of in that criteria?
Well, I'm not sure that we can identify specifically the nature of the entities that will qualify, but the reality is what we want is to make sure that folks do have a network, do have an understanding of the challenges that heirs property has presented. And we will do everything we possibly can through the USDA network to make sure that people are aware of this program and aware of the resources now that could potentially be available through a low interest loan. I think we will probably use our state directors from our Farm Service Agency offices to let folks know of the availability of this program. Our Office of Advocacy and Outreach and our Office of Partnership will also engage in an effort to make sure that folks are aware of this. We have interesting relationships with a number of historic Black colleges and universities, Hispanic serving institutions and tribal colleges, where we also could potentially get the word out about this program and obviously many, many other programs. I think those folks who are engaged and involved in this issue, whether it's for Hispanic farmers or Native American farmers, Black farmers or white farmers, I think they are sensitive and are aware of the 2018 Farm Bill and have been waiting for the department to take action to create this relending program. And so I'm pretty sure that we're going to see a robust interest in this, which I think will further support Chairman Bishop's efforts and others to continue to provide resources that will allow us to continue to create a larger fund over time that will hopefully be able to meet all of the needs. There's a lot of need for technical assistance. There's a lot of need for understanding of how this can be used. You've heard examples here today. And I'm sure that people are going to be excited about this. So we'll get the word out. And that's part of the reason why we're having this press conference today.
Great.
I'm going to chime in for just a second, like from a hyper local perspective. What we'll do, and I know Congressman Bishop and our other colleagues who serve on the Ag Committee, we in our own way can make sure that we're letting our statewide farm bureaus know. We've got our own social media network where we send out newsletters where literally most of us have tens of thousands of people who get that. The Southern Cooperative has a partnership with John Deere. I happen to live in Moline, Illinois, where the world headquarters is for John Deere. John Deere has a partnership on this issue. So we'll tap into that. You got the private sector there. You've got many members of Congress who represent districts all over the country where we can get down to the more granular level, and we'll do what we can to spread the word as well.
Okay, next up, we actually have a question that has come in through our chat. It is from Jackie Faka, and the question is, can you ask how many families you estimate do have heirs property now that could benefit from this rule? Also, how much of this rule had been started after the 2018 Farm Bill under the previous administration, or has all the work on this rule occurred in 2021?
Well, no work had been done, to my knowledge, on the proposal coming out of the 2018 Farm Bill until the president was inaugurated in January. It was obviously a priority of many members of the Senate that I talked with during the confirmation process, and certainly many of the House members, including Representative Bishop, indicated a desire to get this done. So we placed a real emphasis on getting this finished and done soon through the process, and received a cooperation and appreciation for this from OMB and all of the other processes that we have to go through to get something like this set up. So the majority of work started and was completed during this administration.
Thank you. And next up, we have Emily Barron. Emily, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself.
Hi, thank you very much. How much of this is in part a response to the lawsuits on behalf of white farmers that previously blocked coronavirus relief funds that were designated for Black farmers? Is any of this a different way of getting that money out?
No, this is a completely separate and distinct issue from the debt relief efforts directed by Congress in the Rescue Act. This is a result of the Farm Bill that was passed in 2018 and a direction from Congress to set up this relending program so we could address the issues and the challenges that heirs property owners currently face. You heard several of them today. And, you know, I didn't answer the question about how many farmers we will impact. I don't think we fully and completely know how many farmers may be positively impacted by this program until we get it set up and we see what the demand is for assistance and help. But I think it's fair to say that that there are probably thousands of landowners out in the countryside today who can be positively impacted by this program. So this is really designed to address a problem that's been around literally for more than 100 years, where individuals, because they didn't have a deed, they basically the transaction was a handshake. Land was transferred with a handshake, or someone passed away owning land, didn't have a will, so it was divided among heirs. Those heirs didn't have a will, so it was divided among their heirs. And over a period of time, you have a situation where there are multiple owners of property. And the reality is that oftentimes, if you can't prove ownership, others can come in and take that property through adverse possession, which has happened. And it's one of the reasons why we are confronting the fact that so many Black farmers, Hispanic farmers lost their land as a result of not having specific title, in addition to not being able to access the programs because they couldn't establish ownership, and they couldn't go into a bank and get a loan because they couldn't mortgage property they couldn't prove that they owned. So this is a very complicated problem that needed a resolution. And fortunately, Chairman Bishop and others saw the need for action and made sure that it was put in the 2018 Farm Bill. And pleased with that our team was able to get this thing up and going, and looking forward to seeing it implemented, but nothing to do at all with the debt relief effort. That's totally separate and distinct.
Right. Thank you. And right now, I don't see anyone else in the queue. I'd just like to ask at this time if anyone would like to ask a question. Again, at the bottom of your Zoom screen, there is a reactions button. If you click on that, you can raise your hand. If for some reason that is not working, please submit a question through chat and we will give it 1 minute. And if we do not have any questions, we'll proceed to close.
Peter, while we're waiting, let me take this opportunity to thank Senator Warnock, Representative Bustos, Representative Bishop, Dr. Stevens, and Director Davy for their participation in this event today, and certainly for the leadership that Senator Warnock, Representative Bustos, and Representative Bishop and others have had in equity issues at USDA. I can tell you that we are very focused on this and very interested in continuing to look for ways to provide assistance and help to make sure that USDA is doing its job for all of America and all of American agriculture.
And
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
We do have one more question that has come in from Emily again. She asks, when will these funds begin to go out?
Well, we're going to make we're going to get the word out about the program, and then obviously people have to apply. And so it depends on the speed with which the applications come in and can be reviewed. But the expectation is that there are a number of organizations primed to take advantage of this program, and that we anticipate and expect that we're going to get these resources out as quickly as possible, because we understand people have been waiting for a very, very long time for this day.
Right. Thank you, sir. We don't have any questions, so I would ask Mr. Secretary if you have any closing words for us.
Just again, appreciation for the opportunity to visit with everyone today. This is an important step forward, one of many steps that we're taking at USDA. We look forward to seeing an aggressive implementation of this program and hopefully continue to merit the support of Congress in terms of funding this effort, because we think it's long overdue and certainly long needed. And as I think it's going to provide a lot of hope and opportunity to folks. As I said earlier, title to property is not just proof of ownership, but it's really the gateway to opportunity. And today, more opportunity is going to be open to more farmers across the country, and that's a good day. Thank you all very much.